Hi, this is Tabletop Game Talk with me, Chris Steele. And today I want to talk about Flesh and Blood. We don't normally talk about trading card games that much on this channel, but I do talk about all tabletop games, and trading cards are one of those kinds of games. And Flesh and Blood is the newest, hottest trading card game out there right now. Been out for about a year, and I've been hearing about it tangentially through my local game store, through some friends who play, and I finally decided to give it a try. So I'm 6 games in. That's not saying too much, but these games are pretty thinky, and half those games were in a draft at my local game store. So let's dive right in. If you're not familiar with Flesh and Blood, let's first take a look at what Flesh and Blood is. So we can take a look here, and this here is a general setup. Don't worry too much about the glare on the cards. We're not going to go that deep into what the cards are or how the cards play, but I'll give you a general idea of what you're seeing here. So you have your deck of cards here. Your deck of cards are typically made up of actions, reactions, and instants. If you're familiar with Magic the Gathering, you're familiar with instants. There's a few of those here. Almost everything that plays in Flesh and Blood would play like an instant in Magic the Gathering, really. Instants just have a different timing for Flesh and Blood. Your deck is going to be made up of a certain number of cards. The number of cards is going to vary depending on your format. Two of the most common formats right now are Blitz, which is a 40-card format, and Constructed, which is an 80-card format, asterisk. Actually, there's an asterisk next to both of those, because it's not just these cards that make up your deck. There are limits to how many cards you can have of each individual type, and even that, there's nuance to this. This game is not simple. It is very not simple. But it's not that hard to learn, but there's a lot going on here. So every deck is going to have center around a hero. This particular hero is named Prism. We'll get into the cards in just a second. And you will have a certain amount of equipment. You can have one head item, one chest item, one leg item, and one arm item. You can have up to 2 weapons. This is a 2-handed weapon, so I can only have one here. And you're going to have life. Actually, let's just switch over to take a look at one of these cards here. We're just going to jump into here. So this is Prism, and this is the card that we were just looking at. So this card here is what we're looking at. So Prism has 20 life, you can tell because there's a 20 here, and she has a hand size of 4, which is showing here, and she has some kind of ability. All of the different heroes will have some ability. There are 2 versions of each hero, mostly. There are some exceptions to these things I'm saying, and also when I get to the opinion part of the conversation, which is essentially everything I do, it is just my opinion. But right now I'm just trying to give you the high-level facts here. So most heroes have a hand size of 4. I've seen one that has a hand size of 3, but that character has a special ability that they can automatically play some cards. In this case, we spend 2 energy. There's only one kind of resource. I've been calling it energy. I'm not sure if it is called energy. I think it is, but it's your resource. You have to spend 2 of them, and then you can banish a card, blah, 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 to create a spectral shield token, etc. That's okay. The interesting thing about the heroes is there's also another version. So if we look here, this is Light Illusionist hero, young, and this is all grown up. Here we have 40 life, same hand size, same special ability, same everything else, it's just 40 life. Now you're going to choose one or the other, and the one you choose is going to be based on the type of game you're playing. If you're playing Blitz, you're playing with a smaller deck and a smaller life pool, you're always going to be playing with the young hero. Everyone across the board is going to be playing with the young heroes. If you're playing Constructed, then you're playing with a bigger deck and a bigger life pool. These are also longer games. A Blitz game can take about 20 to 30 minutes. A Constructed game can take upwards of 50 minutes. There's just a lot more going on. So the next thing, we'll use this as, we're actually looking at some pretty high-level cards right now, but we're going to take a look at equipment real quick. This is a weapon, and you can tell because it's a Light Illusionist weapon, and it's a 2-handed weapon. Only Light Illusionist can use this. In this case, it's Prism. I'm not aware of any other light illusionists right now that exist. So this is a card for Prism. And once you've equipped it, this goes out onto your playmat. And this gives her some kind of ability as well. This is just because it's on the playmat. This ability is always active. We don't worry about what the ability is. Just know that it's there. Here we have an attack action, and we'll stop here for a moment because this will define pretty much everything else that you need to know about the game. When you play an action card, the upper right corner is going to be the cost. In this case, it's going to cost 2 resources. And what it does will depend on what these other values mean for you. So in this case, if I spend 2 resources, I will be able to use the effect of this card. This card is an attack when I use it like this, because it says attack here. And it'll do 5 damage if it gets through. If I don't want to use this card for its effect, I can pitch the card and get 2 resources out of it. So this upper left corner here is how much this card is worth if I pitch it for resources. And this band here, there's 3 different colors, yellow, blue, and red. A yellow band always provides 2, a blue band always provides 3, and a red band always provides 1. There's an inverse relationship in power, which we'll look at in just a second. If someone's attacking me and I want to defend, I can use this card for free to defend 3 damage. So if someone was attacking me for 5 attack, I could use this to defend for 3 attack. We'll get all there. The point I'm really trying to get here is these are multi-use cards, and every decision you make is going to depend on how you play these cards. Well, obviously, but do I use it for defense or do I save it for attacking? Do I pitch it for resources? There's a lot of decisions to be made just on this one card. And you can see all of these cards have similar decisions to make. This one here is an aura. Auras stay in play. And this cannot be used to defend because there's no defense value. It cannot be used to attack because there's no attack value. It costs 6, but it creates some kind of lasting permanent effect in play. That's another one. Let's kind of skip through to see if there's anything. Let's see. Okay, so here's a case where we have the Herald of Triumph. The red version creates 1 mana if you pitch it, costs 2, and it has an attack of 7. If we look at the next one down, this one gives you 2, still costs 2, but the attack is now 6. And here, same exact card, but now the attack is 5. But it's going to give you 3 resources if you pitch it. But when you're building your deck, you can have up to 2 or 3 of each card in your deck, and the 2 or 3 is depending on the format you're picking. But it's each card of a particular color. So if I'm playing Blitz, which has a limit of 2 cards, I can actually include 2 of each copies of this. They're all a little different. This one, the red ones have a higher effect value. The blue ones have a higher resource production value. And then the yellow ones are kind of in the middle. So when you're building your deck, you get to make these choices. Now, typically, too, like you can see here, this R means this is a rare card. All of these are rare cards. So it's not like one is more sought after than the other. It really just depends on how you're building your deck. But that's essentially all the cards that you need to see and worry about, besides maybe some equipment cards. Actually, let's see if we can find some equipment here. So all of the heroes have their own weapons that kind of go with them, but that's all right. We'll switch over to here. All right. So this here is a piece of head equipment, and basically what this does is it allows us to let's see if I can get you something non-glare, sort of. But this allows you to spend a resource at instant speed, which instant speed means I can use it whenever. And in doing so, I can put a card from my hand under my character, which then my character can use later. At that point, though, I'm destroying this piece of equipment. Oftentimes what happens is your equipment are going to be one-time use cards, or cards that have an effect, but when you use them for a different effect, they're going to get destroyed. And weapons are always stay out, they never get destroyed. It's just a way for you to always be able to attack with something. So when you are building your deck, you're not only picking your hero, you're picking your equipment, which starts in play, Then you're picking your cards over here. Following me so far? Great. Couple more minutes and then we'll talk about my overall impressions of the game. On your turn, at the end of your turn actually, in the beginning of your first turn, you're going to draw cards up to whatever the value of your hand size is for your hero. Again, this is typically 4, but it can change. It just doesn't on most of the heroes right now. When I look at my cards, I can see that I have resources 2, 3, 3, 3. So I got a lot of blue cards here. So I have lots of resources, and the cost of my cards are 2, 2, 2, 1. Okay, so if I want to use this card, its cost is 2. So I can say I want to play that, and then I can pitch this card that gives me 2 resources, and I put it in the pitch zone. So now I'm attacking. This is the combat chain here. This mat is not blown out because of my lighting. My lighting's all right, actually. It's just there's a lot of white on white here, so I'll explain what the different zones are. So I'm attacking here. My opponent now can decide, is he going to take the 6 damage, which would be the number in the bottom left, plus any modifiers or effects, and they may decide to defend. So maybe let's just pick a random card here. They defend here. This card has a 2 value. I have a 6, so I would do 4 damage. But they don't have to defend with just one card. They can defend with multiple cards in their hand. So here there's a total of 4 defense, so I would only do 2 points of damage. Great. At this point, I would get to choose to do any attack reactions I have in reaction to his defense, and then they would get to do any defense reactions in reactions to what my reactions. On a particular turn, I only have 1 action point. I can do one thing. This is an action. The concept of taking multiple actions is created when a card says go again. And there's so many, very many cards that say go again. And we can just take a look. So this is the Light Warrior, Boltyn here. And one of his attack reactions, this is a default reaction for him, is that he can banish a card from his soul, which is a card that's been put underneath him from another card. And target an attack that did more damage than printed. So if I found a way of increasing this. But if that's the case, he gets go again. And then he can make another attack on that same turn. So chaining together those go agains so you can make multiple attacks is kind of important. But it depends on your heroes as to how important that might be. That's the general attack structure, back and forth. At the end of my turn, when I'm done attacking and I don't want to pitch anything anymore, I must take everything in my pitch pile, put it here. All the cards I played go into my graveyard. I can put up to 1 card in my arsenal, and then I draw back up to my hand size. Now, I just said a whole lot of extra piles here. It doesn't, it does matter, but I'm going to explain that right now. So, your graveyard, this is where cards go that you've played. Your pitch pile, these are resource cards. They don't actually leave your deck. They just go to the bottom of your deck. You can put them in any order. At the end of your turn, you just put them in any order underneath. If you decide that you're going to get through your entire deck, those cards will come back. If you run out of cards in this game, you don't automatically lose. You just don't draw any more cards. So eventually you're going to lose because you're not going to have the resources to do anything. So it's important to know that when you pitch cards, you get to keep them. There's also this zone called Banish. A number of cards will tell you to banish something, and then it just goes face up in your banish pile. Banish is technically removed from the game, but every time Banish comes into play, you start interacting with it immediately. So it's really just another place that cards can go. So you guys can go to the graveyard, they can be banished, they can be pitched, and then the pitch go to the bottom of your deck. Your arsenal card, once you place it here, it is part of your hand, sort of. It doesn't count against your hand, and you can only treat it in one way. You can only play it. You must pay its cost and play it for its effect. You can't defend with it. You can't pitch it for resources. But it's a way of holding a card for later. And then you still have your full hand that you can play along with it. That's, in a nutshell, the game. There's lots and lots of different exceptions and rules and things that you need to pay attention to and track. And there's incredibly difficult decision making when someone is attacking you. So I just drew a full hand of 4. If I'm being attacked and they're attacking me for an attack of 6, well, I have 2 defense 3s and 2 defense 2s here. I could put these 2 cards down and defend that 6 damage. I could do that, no problem, and I don't take any damage. But I don't have these cards anymore. So I defend with them. I put them over here. They now draw up to a full hand. They now have 4 cards. I only have 2 cards to attack with. So I can pitch 1 and attack with 1, but then I don't have anything. And even though this card has go again, I can't go again. There's nothing else for me to do, unless this card was something I could also play. So that constant, how much do I defend versus how much do I take damage so that I can do damage back to you, is always in your mind. Which card you use to defend is very important, because you don't want to get rid of the card you need to pitch for resources, or that's the card that you're going to use to attack next turn. And everything you do in this game is just very, very tempo. And when I say tempo, it means, do I get the upper hand? Am I always on the attack, making you use all your cards so that you can never attack me back? Or when do you say, okay, I'm just going to take all this damage, so now I'm going to make a big move coming back at you and try to switch things up? There are a lot of interesting decisions to make here. So that is Flesh and Blood in a nutshell. It is a collectible trading card game that's at its heart. What you're seeing here is what they call a Blitz deck. This is Prism's Blitz deck. It comes all in one deck. If you wanted to start playing, I would say that that's the way to do it. Go buy yourself a Blitz deck and you can just start playing. I'll also say that everything around this game is super, super overpriced. The latest set, so let's switch back over here. The latest set just came out, and that's Monarchy. The Monarchy booster boxes, which I believe contain 24 boosters, are running about $400 to $500 online for 24 booster packs. And these are 15 cards in a pack. They are first edition, and they are very expensive. There are booster packs booster boxes, 24 packs, for Welcome to Wrath and Arcane Rising. I've seen them for running around $95 a piece. These are for Unlimited, which are, we'll get into that in just a moment. The point I'm trying to make is this game was very hard to find for the last year, and because of that, the prices were inflated. It came out very quiet. Not a lot of people heard about it. About halfway through the pandemic, people really started talking about it, and it became something that people were getting. And obviously, there was a shortage of supply, so the prices just started skyrocketing. To the point, like, this is TCG Player, the place where you can buy and sell trading card games. This is one of the cards in the first set. $550. Now this is, it went for a whole lot more of that at one point. There's sales of this for over $10,000 for this one card. It's Fabled. This particular one I'm sure is cold foiled, which we'll get to as well as what that is. But the prices on these cards are just insane. They're crazy. And they shouldn't be. In fact, I will say so much is right now, Flesh and Blood is in a bubble. And that bubble is going to pop, and it's going to pop big. We've already seen it. If you're watching prices, you can already see prices dropping like 90% off of the highs of some of these cards. Does that matter for the game? I don't know. The game is still fun. There are some balance issues. I've been told that the first tournament, the top 6 were all using the same hero. So essentially the same deck. And the next tournament had a very similar problem with another hero that came out in another set. So because it's kind of all centered around the hero, you're going to see things that are not... You're not going to see a ton of variety in the decks just yet. Each set has 4 different heroes. So right now we're looking at 12 heroes. There's one hero that's not a standard default hero, but that one is, again, thousands of dollars to get that hero. The way the heroes work is you're not chasing after them. You might chase after a foil, but they're tokens. You're going to get, anyone can go and pick up all of these heroes for basically free. I think my local store was selling them 2 for 5 cents. They're not hard to find. Your starting equipment is not hard to find. You're going to have your basic equipment is relatively easy to get. The good stuff, though, hard to find. a lot of the equipment, the legendary stuff, the mythic rares. In the first couple sets, we had super rares. Those things, hard to find. Those things are worth a ton of money right now. But here's where I think that everything in this game is going to fall in value, and there's no floor to how far it's going to fall down. The concept of the game, of the distribution model, is they're going to send out a first edition boxes to stores that are supporting them, running events, doing those types of things. Once that first edition run is out, then you're going to get the unlimited version. And the unlimited version right now may actually be unlimited. They may just keep printing these. As long as there's demand for them, they keep printing them. Well, the collectible market doesn't really like when cards just keep coming into supply. So that collectability goes way down the more cards get printed. The first edition boxes do have different versions of the card. They're marked so you can see that they're first edition, but there's nothing playing different. Like, they all have the same text on them. Let's see, I'll give you an example of... So this card here is a token card. Actually, technically, this is a common card. It was found in a common slot because it's part of a demo deck. But basically, Ira Crimson Haze. Now, just over here, if I take a look at the promos, and I sort promos, Ira Crimson Haze is worth, well, sold at one point for $1,200. This card and this card are the exact same card, except for this card is shiny. Literally shiny. And I'm going to try to show you the difference on two of these cards here. So this is a shadow card, purple border, and you can kind of see that there's a little bit of a sheen to her staff. This is what they're calling a rainbow foil. This card is also a shadow card, and you can see the sheen on the border. This is a cold foil. This type of foil only exists, and you can kind of see them wherever we're at here. This kind of foil only exists in the first edition boxes. It is the only thing that is different between the first edition boxes and later boxes. Right now, the current set is going, again, for $400 to $500 for a booster box. This is not because people are chasing cold foils. It is because people are chasing cards to play with. And that's what you have to pay for these cards right now. When the Unlimited comes out in about 6 months, those prices on those first boxes are going to go down. They just are. There's no reason why they wouldn't. If you're a player, you don't care that you have these shiny foils, right? That's not why you're playing the game. If you're a collector, maybe you're collecting this, but as a collector, you need a base of people who are willing to pay for these. The reason Magic the Gathering keeps their value is because once a set's done being printed, it's no longer being printed. And there's a finite number of particular card, period, in the world. With Flesh and Blood, that doesn't appear to be the case. It appears that this game's going to be around for a while, and you're going to be able to get your hands on any of these cards whenever you want, eventually, once supply catches up with demand. So when you look at the prices of Flesh and Blood, you have to keep in mind that these prices are inflated because the demand is higher than the supply. And that is a very, very bad way to keep the secondary market engaged. As the company, what is the company name here? Legend Story Studios is the company that makes this. Because their supply is so low, it looks like these cards are worth so much money. Well, eventually a lot of people are going to lose a lot of money off this stuff because the company's not doing anything to keep the value up. Wizards of the Coast, despite everything that Magic the Gathering players can complain about, the one thing that they do pretty well is manage that aftermarket. If they didn't, the game wouldn't have lasted for almost 30 years already because you'd have that bubble, the bubble pops, and your collectors aren't interested anymore. The value of these cards are no longer valuable. There's no reason to buy hundreds of packs of cards to open up the chase card that you're looking for. You can just get everything. I'm not certain I like Flesh and Blood as a trading card game. I really, really don't like the distribution model. They say they have commons and rares. Well, that's fine. They have commons and rares, and those are your standards. There's no uncommons, but really rares are the uncommons, because you have in a pack you'll have 12 rare or 12 commons, 2 rares, a token, and then a mystery thought. That could be some kind of foil. It's usually a foil of some sort, and it could be a mythic, a legendary. In the earlier boxes, they had super rares. There's even the early box that they have a Fable, which is one card. That's the one I was showing you for $10,000. It's all about the chase. So you want to buy these for these chase cards. That's not cool. I mean, if you want your game to be good, let it be good. Let it stand on its own merit. And the game is good. Like, they don't need to do all this, all these chase cards. I played a game with my starter deck, and a friend of mine came over, and he has, legendary equipment cards. He really got into this. He, basically showed me how to play the game. And at the first game we played, he played with on par equipment. And he's like, okay, now I'm going to swap out and use my legendary equipment. She has a nice, solid, plated, screwed together things, because they're never shuffled in, so you can, protect them. And these effects were so far beyond the effects of my equipment that just them being on the table meant I was likely going to lose. These things, and these are mythics and legendary cards that are super hard to find, and hundreds if not thousands of dollars to buy right now. That's not fun for the casual player. And if your non-casual player can't play with the cards that they've paid a ton for, it's not fun for them to not be able to play those either. I think this is a huge problem. The heroes, I mentioned that. The heroes they have basically a set of cards that you can use to tweak those decks. But ultimately, every hero has the best deck that you can make for that, and not entirely true. Every game is tweakable here and there, but mostly those decks are going to be sorted out pretty quickly because there's not a ton of cards. Each set is kind of focusing on a new thing, and there's not a ton of cards to experiment in the space. If a hero has a lackluster power, you're going to have a lackluster hero. Doesn't matter how good the cards are around it. That power, that hero, is sort of a mainstay, main benefit that you're getting there. So, is this game going to beat Magic? I've heard this multiple times. This is the Magic the Gathering killer. Right now, Magic the Gathering is going through one of its, yearly disruptions where the fan base is upset about something Wizard of the Coast did. I follow Magic. Again, tangentially, I played it a lot in the 90s, and I occasionally pick up a set here and there. I'm really excited for the new D&D set coming out. But Magic made more money this year than it's ever made before. Now, a lot of that is because they moved Magic to focus on online for Arena, which I think was a smart move during a pandemic. Flesh and Blood is named Flesh and Blood because the designers want people to play it in person. They want people to come to the stores and they collect things, which is a great, it's a great concept. It's a great idea. The problem is, though, you need to be where the people want to play. And it's okay that this can't be played online. Honestly, it's so interactive that it would be miserable to play this online. Everything I do, you're going to do something back. And if you can't immediately respond to me, then it's just going to take forever. It's a slog to go back and forth. So yes, it was meant to be played in person. But it's not going to overpower Magic the Gathering. It's not going to hold the value that it currently has now. Again, my opinion, take it with a grain of salt. I'm telling you not to invest in this. But hey, if you want to buy multiple first edition boxes right now, Crucible of War is available. The video might as well be sponsored by the Gift of Games, my local game store. You can go to giftofgames.com. He has reasonable market rates for the first edition Crucible of War. And you can invest in these boxes and you can hold them and see if they hold their value. I don't see how they can. The shiny border is not going to hold its value, especially since the unlimited version of these are going to be $90 for a box of boosters, and you can open up the exact same cards and play with those cards, and you'll have those. This is going to be a pay to win game. It already is. The mythics and the legendaries, if you have them, you use them. I've not seen any, and again, I've played 6 games. I've done a decent amount of research, looked at a lot of cards, talked to a lot of people. But from what I can tell, if you have a mythic or legendary card, you're going to use that card instead of a similar functionally common card or rare card. You are. All of them are better. It's messy. In a sealed environment, you're going to mostly meet commons and stuff. And that's fine. Like a sealed environment, that's actually, I'm going to play another sealed tournament in a few weeks because I like the sealed environment. I like that we're all starting from the same card pool. And yes, you could get lucky and open a super powerful card, but you're only going to have one of those. You're not going to, hit the scale. In a constructed environment, I have no interest in playing this game. I have no interest in playing most games in a constructed environment. This is why Keyforge is one of my favorite games, since it's not really constructed. You just open up a deck and play. Sealed. But yeah, it's a fun game. It's a fun kitchen table game. Try to get into it, but don't spend a lot of money. The Blitz decks, even those are overpriced right now. I think they're like $120 a piece. But even at that price, at $20 a piece, it is worth buying the 4 Blitz decks. That's $80. You get to play all 4 heroes for Crucible of War, and you can try it out and see if you like it or not. And then wait for the prices to come down before you buy more. So anyway, that's my opinion on Flesh and Blood. I'm going to keep playing it. I'm going to keep playing it in a sealed environment at reasonable prices. $20 or $30 for a sealed event where I get to walk away with the cards I draft. I'm completely fine with that. I will not open a booster pack that's outside of an event. It's just, they cost too much. I mean, they just cost too much. The game costs too much. And that's going to drive a lot of people away. And when it doesn't cost too much, a lot of the cards that are worth a ton now are going to fall in value. And all the original adopters are going to get burned. I just don't see this ending well. So anyway, I'm Chris Steele. That's Tabletop Game Talk. Have fun playing games.